ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुक्तापदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांशं श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सह गणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त नमस्ते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुतदेवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So welcome to corporate Bhagavad Gita. We are reading from chapter 5. Um, sorry. We are reading from chapter 5, 27th verse. Okay. So before that, what we read in this chapter was okay. Just let me, yeah. So this chapter started with Arjuna asking this question that Krishna, you tell me to renounce work and then you tell me to work with devotion. What is beneficial for me? Now, on the path of spirituality, there are people who give up completely and they take to philosophical speculation, meditation, and all that. So, in the previous chapter, Krishna talked about them. So, Arjuna thought whether Krishna is telling me to do that thing. But then Krishna told, no, Arjuna, you should stand up and fight. So, therefore, Arjuna is asking, which one should I do? This one or this one? So, Krishna said, you should work with devotion. And then he said, both the paths, the Sankhya Yoga path and the Karma Yoga path, they lead to the same goal. They achieve this result. And you should do Karma Yoga. You should do Karma Yoga. Why? Because it's your nature and you are a king. You are already doing karma. So better do it in the yoga. Better do it in yoga. Yoga means joining it with the Supreme. How to do that? So Krishna says in 10th verse, he says, one who performs his duty without attachment. So do your duty without attachment. This means attachment to the uh, to what I'm going to get out of it. Just do the duty as it is. Hmm? Don't do it just because you're going to get something out of it. Like I give this example of children. If parent wants to do something out of the children, what they will do? They'll show a toffee or a sweet or something or a toy, and they'll say, if you do this homework, then you will get this, right? And then the child does it, and then he says, give me that. So he do his duty without attachment? No, he did it with attachment. But Krishna is saying you do your duty without attachment. Just like we have examples of army people, doctors, teachers. They, if a policeman saves somebody, he doesn't say, okay, now I saved you, you give me 50,000 rupees. Does he say that? No. He says, I have done this out of my own duty. So that's what Krishna is saying. Do things out of your duty. You will get something out of it, but that is not, should not be your motivation. Then what should be your motivation? Then whatever you will get, you will surrender to the Supreme Lord. You will give it to the Supreme Lord. Okay, you will offer it to the Supreme Lord. In this way, you will be unaffected by sinful actions as lotus leaf is untouched by water. So, this is what it means to connect our karma with yoga. Yoga means to join with the Supreme. So, this is how we join with the Supreme. See, Krishna is also saying here, whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, he becomes greedy for his fruits of labor and becomes entangled. Becomes entangled means there will be a cycle of karma reaction behind this. Hmm? Like we see, some people, if they become greedy for the fruits of their labor, like I took the example of police, he becomes greedy. He says, okay, I can resolve this case for you. You give me 5 lakh rupees, right? Bribe. So if they think about bribe, then they become greedy and then they commit a criminal activity. Then even the law is after them. What to speak of the karma? Karma is beyond the law that the state, the government has set, right? So that also becomes entangled. Getting any question on this? Any question, comment?
No.
No, Prabhuji.
Okay. Okay. So Krishna is bringing Arjuna to this point that do your duty without being attached, or with detachment. Let's put it that way, with the detachment. Do your duty. It's for the sake of your duty. And then offer the result to the Supreme. That's the point. And then he talks how one does it. So we went through all these things, but I'll tell you. First of all, he understands that he is different from the body. Okay, and he's not the only doer in the body. Like some people said, I did it. But Krishna is saying you are just part of the doing. It is carried away by the three modes of material nature. All actions are enacted by the three modes of material nature. You take the help of the three modes to perform an activity. So I always give this example of excavator. Who did the actual digging? So with the help of the excavator, the operator did the digging, right? Even though he may say, I dig it, but did he really dig it by his own hands? No. Similarly, um, the spirit soul, whatever activity he does, it's the three modes which are really using it. I mean, which are really doing it. Okay? And these three modes are under the Supreme Lord. So the Supreme Lord is allowing the spirit soul to use the three modes, that is this body, the mind, the senses, to do certain activity. Therefore, the Supreme Lord never assumes anyone's sinful or pious activities. Hmm? It is goes back to the spirit. Okay. Um, okay. So then the soul's mind, intelligence, faith, everything is fixed on the Supreme. Then one is cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight onto the path of liberation. So if our focus is on the Supreme, then the path of liberation is open for us. Let's say if our focus is not on the Supreme, then what happens? Can you tell me?
We
Let's
get
say for
entangled, Prabhuji. We get
entanglement.
entangled.
Yes, entanglement. So, this principle can be used in our daily duty also. Like, let me explain you. When one intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the duty, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings to complete knowledge and thus proceeds on this path of, instead of saying liberation, I will say good work. Getting? Do you agree with this statement? Like I gave you the example of police. So if the police is putting his mind, faith, intelligence in just performing his duty, then in the end he will do good work, right? Yes or no?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So this principle can be applied to our daily work also. Like um, like some people, they may not have full faith on God or something, right? But they are so fixed on their duty that eventually they'll end up doing good work only for the society, right? They may not be full devotees and all that, but because they want to do their duty for the sake of duty, like we see, army people in the Kargil war, they didn't think that, okay, I'm doing this fighting for salary. Did they think like this? No.
No.
They were young people, they were so fixed in duty, and one of them wrote, that death is an occupational hazard in this occupation that I am in. Generally we work, there is some occupational hazard, meaning some hazard which is happening in your occupation, some which will give you bad health or something. In army, he said death is a normal occupational hazard. Can you imagine? Like somebody, we are working on computers. What is the occupational hazard? Some muscle pain, stiffness of muscle will happen, right? Huh? But in
Yes.
case of army, he's saying death is the occupational hazard. So you can say, that person is fully fixed in his duty. So therefore, he could go and do selfless activity. So let me put one more word: selfless activity. See, this what happens when one is simply focused on duty. He will end up doing selfless activity. Now Krishna comes here and he says, if he fixes on the supreme, then both happens. Good work also happens and liberation also happens. Good work also happens, liberation also happens. Both things happen. If one fixes on the supreme, he will automatically do it for duty, and it will be liberating also. Okay. Okay. So this is the understanding that Bhagavad Gita gives. See, when we read this last time, the humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned, gentle Brahmana, a cow, elephant, dog, and dog eater. So, equally, we discuss this thing. Equally means not on the external platform. Definitely, animal and human being is different. Then, internally, they are all the same. What is internally seeing? That seeing that there is spirit soul in each one of it. That's how one sees equal vision. And one more thing he sees, not just the spirit soul, but he sees one more thing. What is this? Super soul. He sees that
Paramatma.
yeah, Paramatma is also there. So therefore he gets this equal vision. Now when one has this equality and sameness, he has almost conquered the conditions of birth and death. And he's situated on Brahman. Okay. Now he will develop certain qualities in him. He will neither rejoice upon receiving some pleasant, he will not lament upon something unpleasant. He won't be bewildered, he will be unbewildered, he'll be self intelligent, like this. Then he won't be attracted to material sense pleasure, always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. That means on the platform of soul, on the spirit soul, Atma is what he is going to achieve pleasure. So once one achieves pleasure within, right, then one doesn't go after outside pleasure. Okay, so this is what this verse says. Intelligent man does not take part in the sources of misery which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such a pleasure have a beginning and end. So the wise man does not delight in them. So outside pleasure, right? They have a beginning and end. Anything, any pleasure you may take. Food. Some people have like we all get pleasure from food, but it has a beginning and end, right? If when we are hungry at the beginning, it is very nice. Once we start feeling full at the end, we say no, 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 enough. Same way we can go for every pleasure in this world. When we don't have money, we want money. And when we have enough money, then too much of money also gives us headache. Right? Yes or no? Have you heard about these stories or not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So any pleasure in this material world, which is material, is having a beginning and end. So one doesn't delight in them. What is the meaning of delight? Last time I delight means to get carried away with it. Oh, उसमें डूब गया. Not like that. He doesn't get carried away. He remains balanced. See this sameness and this property is there. Na? Sameness and equanimity property is there. So he's not getting carried away with all these things. He's not getting carried away. Um, like I'll give you one example, a true example. Um, when you go to mall and all that, right? There are all these boards of discount. Buy one get two free. Then discount of 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, right? Now some people when they see this thing, what happens to them? Can you tell what happens to them?
They feel like buying more and more because they are getting at a less
Do they need?
price.
Do they need it? Do they need it?
No, no. Sometimes they don't need it.
Yeah, sometimes they don't need it, but they still go and buy it.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So what are they doing? They're getting carried away with it, right?
Hmm. Yes, Prabhuji.
Now there's a story of Socrates. A long time, many, maybe more than 1,000 years back. Socrates, he was a philosopher, Greek philosopher. So once, his disciple called him. The disciple had opened a shop, and his shop was of various clay vessels. So he was showing, these are the various clay vessels and all that. And Socrates was saying, "Oh, very nice, good quality, good quality." And after seeing that whole shop, then the disciple asked, "Will you buy?" Then Socrates says, "No, I don't have any need for it." That was his answer. So one doesn't get carried away with this whole pleasures of this world which have beginning and end. He will accept it as much as is needed. He won't go into extras, excess. Um, there are so many videos on YouTube now where lottery people lost everything, athletes, they got huge money but then they lost everything. What happened to them? They went for this delight principle, getting carried away with the whole thing. They cannot have that equanimity, sameness, you know. So this is what Bhagavad Gita is teaching. So last time we read this, they tolerate the urges of the senses, checks the force of desire and anger. Hmm? And in this way, one is happy in this world. His happiness within and rejoices within. Ultimately, he attains the supreme. Okay, I gave a recap. Um, okay, we have to do verse number 20. Yes, 26, 27. Okay. We'll just read this. Those who are beyond the dualities that arise about it, those whose minds are engaged within and are busy working for the welfare of the beings. So they think about good about living beings and what to do for them. Then they achieve liberation. Those who's free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured for liberation in the supreme in the very near future. Okay, I think I did this. So now we'll go to the verse number 27, 28. Sparshvan kritva bahir bhayams chakshuschaivantare bhruva pranapano samo kritva nashabhyantara charino यतेन्द्रिण मनोबुद्धिर मुनिर मोक्ष परायण विगतेच्छ भय क्रोध यह सदा मुक्त एवस. Shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breath within the nostril, and thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence. This transcendentalist aiming at liberation becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who's always in this state is certainly liberated. Now, what is Krishna talking about here? Can anyone tell me what is this all about? What is your guess here? What is it was talking here?
A dhyana yogi,
Dhyan,
Prabhuji, he is
meditation.
meditating.
Yeah, but Krishna is talking about karma yoga, right? Then what is this all about? This means the karma yogi will do this dhyan yoga. He will do this dhyan yoga while doing his karma yoga. So what he will do? He will close his eyes. Actually, he'll keep his eyes half closed or maybe too closed, whatever. Here suspended the inward and outward breaths. This is anilom vinilom kind of practice. And then with that help, he will control mind and senses and intelligence. So basically, he will do meditation in the morning time and he will calm down. So this is called mindfulness. How many of you heard this word called mindfulness?
I have heard,
Yes.
Prabhuji.
Yeah, so this is in Bhagavad Gita. This is the verse which talks about mindfulness. If we just control our breathing, close our eyes in the morning, sit in the Padmasana, and just breathe slowly in and out, do Anulom Vilomam Pranayam, it helps us to control mind and senses. So, this anybody can do. Actually, all those who are working, right, should do this. Even housewives and all, they should also do this. Okay. Any questions on this? I'll tell you, Krishna also did this. I'll show you where he did this. In Krishna book, uh, where is Krishna book? Went away. Yeah, there is a chapter which says daily activity. Hmm. Lord Krishna used to lie down with his 16,000 wives. Not together, okay? Each one had her own palace. But he would also arise from the bed very early in the morning, 3 hours before sunrise. By nature's arrangement, the crowing of the cocks warns of the Brahma Muhurta time, hour. There is no need of alarm clocks. As soon as the cock crows early in the morning, it is to be understood that it's time to rise from the bed. Hearing this sound, Krishna would get up from the bed, but his early, but but his rising early was not very much to his liking of his wives. Where it is? Here. After rising from bed, Lord Krishna would wash his mouth, hand, feet, and would immediately sit down and meditate on himself. This does not mean that, however, we should also sit down and meditate on ourselves. We have to meditate on Krishna, Radha Krishna. That is our real meditation. Krishna is Krishna himself, therefore, he was teaching us that Brahma Murta should be utilized for meditation on Radha Krishna. By such meditation, Krishna would feel very much satisfied, and similarly, we also feel transcendently pleased and satisfied if we use the Brahma Murta period to meditate on Radha Krishna. Okay, so Krishna is meditating on himself in the morning, and he's saying in Bhagavad Gita how to do it. This is what he did. He would keep the eyes and vision closed, concentrating two eyes suspended inward and backward within his nostril, and thus controlling mind and senses. He would do this breathing exercise. He, have you seen some pictures of Lord Krishna where he's sitting in a yoga posture with his eyes closed? Right? Have you seen such pictures?
No, Prabhuji.
Well, you will see them
No.
in North India. You will see them sometimes. So they will show Krishna with this kind of doing this kind of yoga. Okay, we'll get into the purport. Being engaged in Krishna consciousness, one can immediately understand one's spiritual identity, and then one can understand the Supreme Lord by means of devotional service. When one is well situated in devotional service, one comes to the transcendental position qualified to feel the presence of the Lord in the sphere of one's activity. This particular position is called liberation in the Supreme. I'll read this and then we will discuss more about this. After explaining the above principles of liberation in the Supreme, the Lord gives instruction to Arjuna how one can come to that position by practicing a mysticism of yoga called as Ashtanga Yoga, which is divisible into eightfold procedures called Yam, Niyam, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhana, and Samadhi. So, in the Vedic times, right, people used to do these things, and we see that Krishna is also doing it. Right? He is meditating on himself, and then after meditating, when the sun comes out, when there is sunrise, he would then go and do his kingly activity. But in the morning, he would do this thing. In the sixth chapter, the subject of yoga is explicitly detailed. So in the next chapter, that we'll go into this, we'll go into much more detail of this. At the end of the fifth, it is only preliminary explained. One has to drive out the sense objects such as sound, touch, form, smell by pratyahara process in the yoga, and then keep the vision of the eyes between the two eyebrows and concentrate on the tip of the nose. So this is the process. We have to concentrate on the tip of the nose with half closed lids. There is no benefit in closing the eyes altogether, because then there is every chance of falling asleep. Now, nor is there any benefit in opening the eyes completely, because then there is a hazard of being attracted by sense objects. The breathing movement is restrained within the nostrils by neutralizing the upmoving and downmoving air within the body. This is Anilom Vililom, breathing in, breathing out exercise. By practice of such yoga, one is able to gain control over the senses, refrain from outward sense objects, and thus prepare oneself for liberation in the Supreme. See, Prabhupada is saying here, if you practice this yoga, it will help us in controlling senses. This yoga process helps one become free from all kinds of fear, anger, and feel the presence of the super soul in the transcendental situation. In other words, Krishna consciousness is the easiest way of executing yoga principles. This will be thoroughly explained in the next chapter. A Krishna conscious person, however, being always engaged in devotional service, does not risk losing his senses to some other engagement. This is the better way of controlling senses than by Ashtanga Yoga. So Ashtanga Yoga is by doing this mechanical breathing in, half closing eyes exercise, right? There is by doing this we'll control mind and senses. Yes. But then what is our engagement later in the day? That also is very important. That's where devotional service comes into picture. Devotional service keeps us engaged in Krishna consciousness later in the day also. So therefore, to be engaged in devotional service throughout the day keeps us away from risk of losing the senses, meaning falling down. to some pleasure or to something else, you know. um, and we see this in today's world. So many people are practicing ashtanga yoga, right? Every corner in the city has now a yoga studio where they are practicing this breathing exercise. But after practicing this, what are they doing? And what is the motivation behind practicing this all things? What do you think they are motivated by?
By having a good body,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
getting
To stay fit.
relief from stress.
Yeah. Stress, fit, good body,
Good body.
losing weight.
Mm.
Is Krishna talking all that in this verse?
No problem.
So even though those are the products, those are the byproducts of doing this thing, Krishna says that is not so important. It is a byproduct. Accept it. Don't get carried away by it. If you become strong after that, doesn't mean that, then what happens? People again go back to their material life. Yes. So that is the limiting factor of this Ashtanga yoga. That there is a chance of going back to our material life just because we perfected our bodies. So Prabhupada is saying one should have devotional service. What happens when one has devotional service? He will do Ashtanga yoga in the morning, okay, because he wants to keep the body together, healthy. And later in the day, also he will be engaged in Krishna's service. Okay. So by doing this, he will still be saved. He won't fall down. Getting?
Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So so if we are to learn from this, we should not reject Ashtanga yoga. That is one thing. We should not reject pranayam, yogasanas, these eightfold. Where are these? These eightfold things. Yam, niyam, asana, pranayam, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. We should not reject these, but we should employ them in Krishna's service. Like yogasanas. Isn't doing yogasana a good thing or a bad thing? It's a good thing, right?
It is good
Good
thing,
thing.
Prabhuji.
Yeah. I also do yogasana every day. Pranayam, Krishna is himself talking about pranayam. Yeah, and he's himself doing pranayam. 5,000 years ago, he himself did this. Hmm? All that helps. But we should not stop here. What happens is people just stop here. Actually, one should go beyond this. And these are the three states: dharana, dhyana, samadhi. See, yoga students will never talk about dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. But Ashtanga yoga means you have to come to this stage of dhyana, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Here is where the focus on the super soul is there. Paramatma is there. So ultimately, one should achieve dhyana on the Paramatma. And when that dhyana matures, it becomes samadhi, basically. So, so Ashtanga yoga is good. But if these last three things are not done, then there is a full possibility of going back to material life, incomplete. So therefore, the devotional service is very easy. The devotional service is very easy, where one directly takes to the dhyan of Krishna by chanting his holy name. Okay. So what is your takeaway from this? What is your takeaway? What do you think? Um, as a devotee, you will take from this verse. Any comments?
Prabhuji, we understand that doing yoga is actually not a very, I mean, it's a good thing, but all the steps should be inculcated, not only the asana part of it. We should like follow all the things like pratyahara and all the do's and don'ts, and aim
Yeah.
for the samadhi, that is
Okay. Okay. There is one more thing I want to tell you. We had this 9 processes, right? Eightfold processes. Yama. These are the do's. Niyama. Don'ts. Do's and don'ts. Asana.
postures,
Yeah, these are postures. Let's put it like that. Pranayam is like breathing.
breathing exercises.
Pratyahara. Um, these are there are two meanings to it. Ahara. Pratyahara meaning control of eating and earning also. And dharana dhyana samadhi. Let's put this in one bucket only. Meditation on supreme, right? In better is super soul, because that's where ashtanga yoga gets you. Super soul, meditation on super. So in bhakti yoga also we have nama, yama, niyama. What are the do's and what are the don'ts? Let's start with the don'ts. What are the don'ts in bhakti yoga? No meat eating.
uh, or the four regulatives, Prabhuji.
Yeah, no meat eating. No
No
intoxication.
intoxication,
uh, no illicit sex.
no gambling.
No gambling. Okay, what are the do's? Chant 16 rounds, minimum 16 rounds.
Mangalarti,
Yeah, Mangalarti.
reading Bhagavad Gita, reading scriptures
Huh.
like
Reading,
Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita.
associating with devotees. Deity worship, visiting or holy places. I'll just put holy places. Okay.
Service.
Service, practical service. Okay. Asana postures. What do you think? In Bhakti Yoga, what are the asanas and postures? Dandavat
Sitting
pranam.
for steadily for
Yeah, yeah,
chanting.
okay. Actually, for chanting, there
Chanting.
is no hard and fast rule. So basically, the postures in Bhakti Yoga are not very strict. But one of the thing is that there is Dandavat pranam. Okay, there is Dandavat pranam and uh, sitting near Tulsi for chanting. There is nothing very much here. Okay, okay. Pranayam, breathing. So here also, na, there is no hard and fast rule in Bhakti Yoga.
But chanting, if we do in a if we do in a proper way, it is almost like pranayama only. No? Prabhuji?
Yes, but it is not a necessary.
Yes, yes.
It is not a necessary. So basically, these two things, right? They are not a necessary condition in Bhakti Yoga. Hmm? Pratyahara, control of eating and earning. This is definitely prasadam. Okay. See, for a Ashtanga yogi, it could be sattvic food, but for a devotee, it is covered with prasadam. And earning is
Earning only whatever is
required.
required,
No
not
more, no
more than
less.
that.
Yeah, no more, no less. Okay. We can find all this in a book called uh, Nectar of Instruction.
Second shloka, Prabhuji. Atyahara
Mm.
prayasascha.
Yes. So these are the don'ts and the do's and the don'ts. More like detailed. What are the do's and don'ts? These are the ones. A devotion service is spoiled. Let's read this for a minute here, and we'll go back. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, action of anger, urges of tongue, belly, genitals are qualified to make disciples all over the world. The devotional service is spoiled when one becomes too entangled in six activities: eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required, over endeavoring for mundane things that are difficult to obtain, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters, practicing scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting it completely. Fifth is associating with worldly minded people who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. Sixth is being greedy for mundane achievements. See, these are the do's and don'ts of Bhakti Yoga, which fall in the same similar space of Ashtanga Yoga also. Hmm? Principles of favorable bhakti: being enthusiastic, endeavoring confidence, following regulative principles, hearing, chanting, remembering Krishna, association, abandoning the association of non devotees, following the footsteps of previous acharyas, accepting prasad, offering prasad, gifts in charity, accepting gratitude, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, all these things. See, mentally honoring a devotee and should offer humble obeisance. This is the asana I was talking about. So kind of little similar, but it is there. And then on meditation, I'll just show you. Okay. Hmm. One should utilize one's 24 hours in a day in chanting, remembering the Lord. So this is our meditation, 24 hours a day. Chanting, remembering the Lord's divine transcendental form, qualities, eternal pastimes, thereby gradually engaging in one's tongue and mind. In this way, one should reside in Vraja and serve the Krishna under the guidance of the devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his devotional service. Hmm. Okay. So we did a comparison of Ashtanga Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Hmm? And in this Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, here is where all these practices. See, our do's, right? Our do's fit into Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. We don't have to do anything separate from our do's and Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. Okay. See, that is the greatness of Bhakti Yoga. That whatever we are doing at the end, in the very highest perfection, also we will doing the same thing. We'll be chanting Hare Krishna from day one, and when we achieve perfection, also we will still be chanting Hare Krishna. Okay, but in Ashtanga Yoga, the do's are separate from the Samadhi, Dhyan, and Dharana. Okay, so that is the comparison. Hmm? Any question?
Prabhuji, perfection in chanting means like, suppose if today we are able to do it, I mean, very well, and tomorrow it is not
No.
on the same level.
Perfection in chanting means there are many levels to it, but I will tell. The minimum is when we chant Krishna's name, we remember him. That is the minimum. The highest stages are um, we cry for Krishna. That is perfection in chanting. We cry for Krishna. We cry for Krishna Service Association. Hmm? Mercy. So that is perfection in chanting. It is not about, it is not about just pronouncing the holy name. It is with the heart. So the perfection is with the heart. Got it?
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So when we say we chanted good and all that, we have to really compare with these parameters. Are we longing for Krishna? Right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
See, when the gopis they were longing for Krishna, they would chant his holy names, and then they would go into ecstasy. So there is a lot of things in it, but that is the perfection of chanting. So in one word, if I put it's actually crying for Krishna. Now this crying can be done externally also. Like children also cry, right? And if a mother's name is Krishna, or if friend's name is Krishna, the child is Krishna, Krishna. But is he really chanting? No, right? So
No.
so so it can be imitated. Okay, this thing can be imitated, but it should come from heart. Okay, okay.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah, let's go to the last verse of this chapter, which is another great verse. Krishna says, Bhoktaram yagatapasana sarva loka maheshwaram suhit sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be uh, the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifice and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor of well-wisher of all living beings, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Peace formula according to Bhagavad Gita. We should accept Krishna to be ultimate beneficiary, to be the lord of all planets and demigods, to be benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities. Then there will be peace. Why people are not peaceful? Because they think I am the beneficiary. I should enjoy. This planet, this demigod, they belong to me. I'm the supreme. People will say, this is my land. I am the god here. And they will try to be well-wisher of few people and enemies of others. Right? So with this, how can you achieve peace? Peace will be achieved when we know Krishna is the beneficiary. Krishna is the Lord of all planets, and he is the real benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities. I will explain you in with an example here. Um, uh, you know, in our country, there have been instances where some people have captured certain land, and they were not listening to the government. So then, what did the government do? It sent its soldiers and fought with that person and freed the people there. Right? You have heard these stories. There are many stories like this. So so um, we need, like, on the country level also, we should understand that ultimately it's for the benefit of all. If we understand, if the person understands that, okay, the government is the ultimate beneficiary of everything, the taxes are going to the government and the government is taking care, he is the real, the government is the benefactor, the well-wisher of all beings, of all country people, and the government is the real owner of the planet, I mean this land, um, this land or this country, then there will be peace, right? So the same concept is applied to when we think of the universe. Okay, for one country, if we apply this principle, there will be peace, right? If we don't revolt with the government, we'll be peaceful. Yes or no?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So
Yes.
so we have many examples, like we have this, there was this 2 decades back, there was this dacoit named Virappan. What he did, he would steal from the forest sandalwood and sell it. Huh? People used to call him God over there. But what happened? The government sent army of soldiers to him to capture him and finally killed him. Did he live peacefully? No. If he had lived peacefully, he wouldn't have challenged the government, right? Same way, in the universal government, if we come to know that everything belongs to God and He is the only well wisher of all living entities, He is the ultimate benefactor, He is the supreme Lord, then we can easily attain peace. Okay? So Krishna is saying this because in our small level also we are very revolting. We think all this beneficiary is for myself. I am the owner of this land. I am the owner of this house. I am the owner of my family. And I am the real well wisher of all beings. All beings in sense my family, my people. And then we fight. And we say we are trying to fight with to keep peace. But actually you know, we are getting more entangled in this material miseries. So Krishna therefore says, put me in the center. Put Krishna in the center and then it will be peaceful. The conditioned souls within the clutches of the illusory energy are all anxious to attain peace in the material world, but they do not know the formula for peace. See, we have United Nations, but is this their principle? No. That's why they are not able to get peace. They are going for universal brotherhood, but Krishna is saying even before that, go for universal fatherhood. Right? Suppose there are four brothers and they are fighting with each other for the property, and then they come to conclusion, okay, we are all brothers now, let's have peace between us. Do you think they will have peace between them? No, they'll again fight.
No.
But if they say we will we will first have peace with father and let father decide about the property, then they will accept it, right?
Yes.
So before even going to universal brotherhood, first go for universal fatherhood. So Krishna is saying the same thing. You understand Krishna to be the supreme, the beneficiary of all, and the well wisher, and the owner of everything. Then you will have peace. I'll tell more about it. Um, first thing is in this material world, right? Whoever masters we have, whatever boss we have, master we have, dictator we have, they are forcing people to say that I am the beneficiary. You have to give me all the profits. Okay, they are forcing people to say that I am the lord. Like we see this in North Korea and in the East. They are dictators, right? But they fail to become the last thing. What is the last thing? The third thing is that they fail to become well-wisher of all living beings. Okay, they are sometimes good to their own family members, but they are very bad and cruel to others. But Krishna is not like this. He is good to everyone, and then we can attain peace. Um, Now, one may say, okay, I accept all these things, but how to attain peace then? What would you say? Okay, I accept this verse. Now you tell me how will peace happen? Will it happen automatically? How will it happen?
We have to think that everything belongs to the Lord. Nothing belongs to me. I'm a caretaker of his property.
Okay, okay.
So So we should not get attached to it. We should do our whatever is our service, and then in that way we can attain peace.
Okay, okay. So the thing is, to accept this, in a theoretical way, but in a practical way, to accept this, to understand this, is to change our conduct. Okay, and when the person changes his conduct, then he can achieve peace. Okay, it's not just theoretical understanding. One has to change the conduct also. So in this regard, now we'll go to one more shastra, which is called Ishopanishad. So here Krishna says, what should be the conduct? This verse, ईशवासम इदम सर्वम यत् किंचित जगत जगतम जगत तेन त्वक्तेन भुंजिता मा ग्रद कश्यस्विद धनम. Everything animate, inanimate that is within this universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself which are set aside, his quota, and one should not accept other things knowing well to whom they belong. So accept your quota and let others accept their quota. Don't interfere in other person's quota. So the conduct is changed when one understands that everything is owned by the Lord. Okay? I'll show you one more thing. How many of you have seen this food pyramid? Um, have you heard about this food pyramid?
Yes, Prabhuji, in science we used to have.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Vedas say, um, Vedas say that jivo jivasya jivanam, wherein one living entity is dependent on other living entities. Let me just show you food pyramid. There was a very nice picture, but here. Okay, so this is the food pyramid, right? On the right hand side. Yes or no?
Yes.
Do you see where is human being in this? Why human being is not shown here? Have you ever thought?
Because that is for animals, I guess. It's only related to animals.
No, why human being is not shown?
No idea.
Because human being is eating everything, Prabhuji. That's why.
Yeah, he has the capacity to disturb everything.
Everything.
Yeah. So therefore, the instructions are given to human being. Your conduct should be you accept your quota. Don't accept anyone else's quota. See, if a bag of grains fall on the road, if a bird passes by, what will the bird do?
It will call all the other birds also to eat.
No, it won't. It won't. It will just take few of the grains and it will go away, right?
That also is
Yeah.
there.
If a cow passes by or a donkey passes by, what will they do? They will eat few more grains and they will go by. But if a human being passes, what will he do?
He'll take the full bag and go away.
Yeah. So the human being has a possibility of disturbing everybody. So therefore, the instructions are given for the human being that you should use only your quota. Don't disturb others person's quota. That's why in today's world we have so many problems: climate change, all this. Who created all these things? Who created climate change and all? Animal? Which animal created? It was a human being only, right?
Yes.
Who's creating all this pollution? Any animal is creating this pollution. Let's say the
No,
elephant. Is the
Prabhuji.
elephant
No.
creating? No,
No,
right?
no.
So yeah, the human being has a big responsibility. Okay. So the conduct has to change when he accepts Krishna is the supreme. And for how to change the conduct now? Can you tell me how to change the conduct? He has to access Shastras. So the Shastra will tell him how to conduct in this world. So Isha Upanishad is one of the Shastra where it is said that you should accept which is your quota and don't disturb other person's quota. Getting?
Yes,
Yeah. So when so human beings should access this Shastra. See, animals when they access this Shastra, what will happen? They won't understand only. It's not meant for them anyway. So it is meant for the human being. And if human being is going according to Shastra, right, then all the animal species, everything will be saved. Okay, we will uh, we'll read this and we'll end. The conditioned soul within the clutches of the illusory energy are all anxious to attain peace in this world. Okay, but they do not know the formula, which is explained in this part of Bhagavad Gita. The greatest peace formula is simply this: Lord Krishna is the beneficiary of all human entities. Men should offer everything to the transcendental service of the Lord because he is the proprietor of all planets and demigods thereon. No one is greater than him. He is greater than the greatest demigods, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma. In the Vedas, Svetaswara Upanishad, the Supreme Lord is said, Tam Ishwaram Paramam Maheshwaram. Under the spell of this illusion, living entities are trying to be lords of all that they survey. This is my land. Get out of from my land, my property. Trespassers will be prosecuted. But actually, they are dominated by the material energy of the Lord. The Lord is the master of the material nature, and the conditioned souls are under the stringent rules of material nature. Okay, karma acts on everyone. Unless one understands these bare facts, it is not possible to achieve peace in this world, either individually or collectively. This is the sense of Krishna consciousness. Lord Krishna is the supreme predominator, and all living entities, including the great demigods, are all his subordinates. One can attain peace only in the complete Krishna consciousness. This fifth chapter is a practical explanation of Krishna consciousness, generally known as Karma Yoga. What Krishna is saying in Karma Yoga? Offer all the results
to the Lord
yeah,
without expecting any results.
no, not results. Being detached.
Ah,
Okay, being detached, you offer the results to the Lord. The question of mental speculation is how karma yoga can give liberation is answered here. To work in Krishna consciousness is to work with complete knowledge of the Lord as the predominator. So we should know that the Lord is the owner of everything. Such work is not different from transcendental knowledge or direct Krishna consciousness is called Bhakti Yoga or Jnana Yoga is the path leading to Bhakti Yoga. Um, sorry, direct Krishna consciousness is Bhakti Yoga. Okay, and Gyan Yoga, that is having this knowledge that Krishna is supreme, Bhoktaram Yagatapasam, this particular knowledge is the path leading to Bhakti Yoga. Okay, Krishna consciousness means to work in full knowledge of one's relationship with the Supreme Absolute, and the perfection of this consciousness is full knowledge of Krishna or Supreme Person Godhead. A pure soul is eternal servant of Krishna. Now, this is bhakti, okay, where one understands that he is servant of God. Jivara Swarup hai Krishna Nitya Das. I am Das of Krishna. I am Krishna Das, Das of Krishna. Meaning I am servant of Krishna. This is where bhakti starts. Starts in sense this is what is bhakti is, where one serves Krishna with all his senses, chanting, menial services, everything. A pure soul is eternal servant of God as his fragmental part and parcel. He comes in contact with Maya due to the desire to lord it over Maya, and that is the cause of his many sufferings. As long as he is in contact with matter, he has to execute work in terms of material necessities. Krishna consciousness, however, brings one to spiritual life even while one is within the jurisdiction of matter, for it is an arousing of spiritual existence by practice in the material world. The more one is advanced, the more is freed from the clutches of matter. The Lord is not partial towards anyone. Everything depends on one's practical performance of duties in Krishna consciousness, which helps one control the senses in every respect and conquer the influence of desire and anger. And one who stands fast in Krishna consciousness, controlling the above mentioned passions, remain factually in the transcendental stage of Brahman Nirvana. The eightfold yoga mysticism, Ashtanga Yoga, is automatically practiced in Krishna consciousness. We did a comparison, right? We did a comparison. So there are few things that we don't exactly practice. What are those? asana and pranayama. Okay. These two things in bhakti yoga, there are no exact replicates. Okay. So we can pick this up from ashtanga yoga. Why? Because
Because
it
they're
keeps
also
a,
beneficial.
sorry.
They also help. We need that
Yeah,
as well.
because it keeps the body healthy.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to have a healthy body now to perform. So asanas pranayam, they can be picked up from ashtanga yoga, and we saw Krishna doing it, right? We saw Krishna himself doing it. The eightfold yoga mysticism is automatically practiced in Krishna consciousness because the ultimate purpose is served. There is gradual process of elevation in the practice of yama niyama. So there's a gradual process. Okay, one has to go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 and then come to 8. But the only preface perfection by devotional service, which alone can award peace to the human beings, it is the highest perfection of life. Okay, but these are only preface perfection. But these only preface perfection by devotional service. Meaning, I told you, right? We have to come to this stage, dharana, dhyan, and samadhi. That means meditating on the super soul. Okay. So here, when they meditate on the super soul, their bhakti starts. Otherwise, the direct bhakti yoga process is there, where one starts chanting the holy name and serves Krishna in the mood of servant of the servant. Okay. So, any questions or comments?
No, Prabhuji.
No.
Okay.